Hello, this is Gradye Parsons, and this is our continuing series on the foundations of polity, which are the new first chapter of the first section of the Book of Order after we passed the new form of government this past summer. And today we're looking at section F-10202, Christ calls and equips the church. And it reads, Christ calls the church into being, giving it all that is necessary for its mission in the world, for its sanctification, for its services to God. Christ is present with the church in both spirit and word. Christ alone rules, calls, teaches, and uses the church as He wills. We also find a reference to this in the Barman Declaration in section 9.48 under section B. Jesus Christ has given the church preaching and teaching, praise and prayer, and baptism in the Lord's Supper as means fulfilling its service of God among men. In the church as a whole, we often complain that we don't have enough. We don't have enough endowment. We don't have enough youth groups, not enough young couples, not enough building, or there's too much building. Whatever it is, we complain that we don't have. But what we affirm in the foundations of polity and what has been true in the whole life of the church is Christ gives the church all that it needs to be the church. Now, that doesn't mean every individual congregation has all that it has. Later on in the form of government, we'll see the congregation is not sufficient in itself to do its mission. But as a church as a whole, Christ has given us all that we need to do the mission. And we just need to look at that gift of abundance that we actually have as opposed to that gift of not enough. We need to be aware of the many gifts Christ has given the church that we have as a church and equip the church to do our mission in the world. So our mission basically of going out into the world and sharing the good news of Jesus Christ, what Christ has given it, you and me. He's given us our ability to communicate with people, our relationships with people, the people we have in our neighborhood, our ability to move about and have those relationships. That's part of the gifts Christ has given to the church. The ability to transform the faith or pass the faith on to new generations. Christ has given us the ability to tell our stories to the children of the church, to people who are coming in after us. All those are parts of the gifts of the church. And we spend so much time in our life in the church, again, talking about what we don't have, when the reality is that which we are called to be about in the mission of the church. We have gifts abundant to do that. We may not have financial resources, but we have way abundance of human resources in order to make things happen in this church. Recently, I was in a church in Dominican Republic in San Pedro. It's a 90-year-old church. It's been there for a long time. They have some limited means about some things. They have abundance of human means, and they have this great abundance of love in this church as they take some of the things they don't have much of and are able to use those abundantly for the things they do have. They go out into the streets around their church because of the violence in the neighborhoods, and they'll put up a projector and show films on the walls of buildings in the street as they engage families in conversations about how to avoid violence in their home, how to avoid violence in their streets. They've been equipped. They have a vision. They have a little projector. They have an extension cord, and that's all they need to do mission. Christ calls us to mission. Christ calls us to use the gifts that we have because we have so many gifts in the church. And so often we focus in the session, so often we focus about what we don't have. There's a new term that's often being used nowadays, which is an asset assessment. Well, basically, you assess what do you have in your church? What are the gifts that you have? What are the things that you have instead of looking at what you don't have? How's your building? The Presbyterian Church still today, 99% of our churches are all bought and paid for. Some multi-billions of dollars of property bought and paid for, available for mission. We have trained ministers. We have elders who are ruling elders who are gifted in leadership. We have people who have all kinds of gifts in the church. We have an abundance that if you tried to go out in the marketplace and buy those gifts, buy the gifts of music, buy the gifts of education, buy the gifts of leadership, it would cost you a fortune. But all that fortune has been poured into the church as gifts of Christ calling the church into being. So the question I have for you is to really think about what are the assets of your particular congregation? What has Christ blessed your church with as far as human resources, as far as physical resources, and especially spiritual resources? And that's the other gift Christ gives the church is our own spiritual resources. What are the tough times your church has been through, and how have you gotten through those times? What are the tough experiences in your church? The tragic death of young people, or the disintegration of relationships, and how your church has gotten through those. That's a spiritual resource for your church. So Christ has given the church what it needs to be the church. And my congregation may need to team up with your congregation to do some things. But really, if we look at our churches, look at the people in our churches, look at what we are so blessed to have so much. And Christ has given that to us to be the church. So go look at your church. Go walk around your congregation and see what are the gifts there. Look out in your congregation and see the people there and the vast gifts they bring to your church every Sunday. See the people there and the great spirit they bring every Sunday, and realize all those are gifts that Christ has given to your congregation and given to the whole church, so Christ may do Christ's mission in the world. And may God bless you, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.